again.
So you're making news again. This time, it's against the government minister. I see you and the health minister had a bit of a tit for tat on via email. It's wonderful that people still email each other now in this day and age. But I mean, what caused that? And he caused you something a bit unsavory. But he said that you were not understanding how things operate and understand it's about the ambulance service, and he's saying it's not as bad as you're making it out to be. First of all, where did this come from? What incident caused you to really have a problem with the response time of ambulances?
Okay, as the caretaker for Digger Mountain West, normally people would come to me because I've been a social and political activist for a long time. So people would come to me with all manner of issues. But when I became the caretaker for Digger Mountain West, that ramped up into overdrive. People called me for everything. And all of a sudden, the ambulance issue, people dying waiting on ambulances, every day I was hearing someone speak to me more and more. My political leader, he sat waiting on an ambulance with his mother who needed to get to the hospital to the point where he had to put her in his vehicle and head down the road. When I started hearing from people at that level, I realized, wait a minute, this thing collapsing. We don't have an ambulance service. So I started to ask questions. You asked about the emails. A lot of people, not just myself, email the government from time to time with issues. These issues that people bring to me is only going to be solved through the government. So I sent out emails on the issue of the ambulances. And the Minister of Health's first response wasn't the most encouraging. He took it personally. But the next day, the CEO of the company, Global Medical Response, Trinidad and Tobago, I think they're a subsidiary of an international company, that's running our ambulance service, Paul Anderson, he called me. And he said he wanted to give me some facts that I didn't have. Now, my first letter to the government, I also sent to the media, and Guardian published the letter, Newsday published it as well. Immediately upon him giving me his side of the story, I put that out in the public domain as well. And Guardian published that too, the very next day. So they got balance. The day after that, people from within the industry started sending us information to prove that, I don't want to say it's not true, but like we said, right now, the worst case scenario is there are 38 ambulances on the road. The next morning, we got that day's roster sheet photographed and sent to me. We put it in the public domain. There were only 20 ambulances on the road. You talk about 1,500,000 people to be serviced by 20 ambulances, and that's already a crisis. I put that out. Then somebody sent me a picture of a man bleeding out in the street in San Fernando, waiting half an hour for an ambulance. Now, they said it was High Street. And if that was High Street, the proximity between High Street and the San Fernando General Hospital is not half an hour. So I said, and I got very upset, and I sent that out, and I said, under no circumstances is this acceptable. And the health minister took umbrage at that, and he was very arrogant in his response when he said 30 minutes, half hour is 30 minutes.
Right, I'm going to ask the producer of the show if they could cue that story there. That's his response. Do we have it ready? Okay, I'm not sure, but when we have it ready, we'll
you can cut it.
We'll
half hour. He said to me, half hour is 30 minutes. You bleep bleep. And I wonder if he knew, because I told him my brother is a very senior member of Canada Health. I get a lot of information. We forwarded information to the government on Ebola. We forwarded information to the government on chikungunya. In fact, that is another issue, the chikungunya issue that we've been worried about and warning about since 2012. This is 2014. We're now talking about putting steps in place. And these are the issues that he and I have been having a little bit of a crossing of swords on. But coming back to the ambulance situation, in Canada, countries like Canada and the United States, they go for 5, 6, and 7 minute response time. There's a magic window of time in trauma that you get beyond that people are going to die in the ambulance. You want your ambulance, you want to be able to say 7 minutes in city limits, 10 to 15 minutes outside of city limits. Whether or not KFC gets chicken to you in 30 minutes or not has nothing to do with how much time an ambulance should take to get there. And he was a little bit flippant with that remark. And I think the public is so incensed, and I don't think he understands. And his comment was very reminiscent of Marie Antoinette's Let them eat cake. KFC giving you chicken in 30 minutes. The ambulance coming in 30 minutes. Take that. And we're not prepared, sir. In your bit on it that you ran, there was Ian Allen, and he was incensed. I watched a big man in that clip crying because people wait 2 hours. Somebody died waiting on an ambulance. And I got into this because one of my son's best friends called crying. 45 minutes they waited the ambulance and the man died.
We actually have the story, especially that interchange between you and Dr. Khan. Let's run that right now.
It took an hour before an ambulance arrived at the scene of this accident along the Uriah Butler Highway last month, although the Shaquana's health facility was minutes away. By then, 1 woman had already died and 5 were critically injured.
They've been waiting so long for an ambulance.
This is one of many incidents that questions the efficiency of the ambulance service in this country. And it's that issue which is at the heart of a heated email conversation between Health Minister Dr. Fuad Khan and political activist Phillip Alexander. In the email sent on Monday, Alexander refers to an accident along High Street in San Fernando where a man was allegedly knocked down by a vehicle. He told the health minister it allegedly took half an hour for the ambulance to arrive, something he said was completely unacceptable if the allegation was true. Alexander has been on a campaign advocating for a more efficient ambulance service and proposed that it be attached to the fire service under the Ministry of National Security. In response, Dr. Fuad Khan said, quote, "Half an hour is 30 minutes, you do you want an ambulance on every corner?" End quote. Alexander posted a screenshot of the email thread on Facebook. We contacted Dr. Khan today, who told us it was somewhat foolish to jump on the ambulance's back when they actually responded in 30 minutes. He said it is surprising that Alexander would make an issue on a 30-minute retrieval, because 30 minutes is in fact a fantastic thing. Not even Kentucky Fried Chicken delivery, he said, could beat that. We asked him if he regretted his response to Alexander. He said, quote, "There's been a barrage of attacks on the ambulance service, but looking at the stupidity of what was sent out, I would love to say I regret it, but deep in my heart, I couldn't believe someone could react that way for an efficient pickup such as that." Alexander is questioning why the health minister is taking the matter personally and asked citizens whether they were satisfied with someone bleeding on a roadway for 30 minutes.
Right, great story there from Kamal. Now, explain to me, if it goes under the fire service, how does it make it more effective?
The National Operations Center right now controls the information that comes in there to dispatch. The fire service is already distributed throughout all of the constituencies. Having ambulances based there already put them closer to the targets. The fire service and the ambulance together, I spoke with the Minister of National Security. He suggested things like GPSing the ambulances so that they would know where they are at all times. But you need to come back to the Minister of Health, because he is saying that a 30-minute retrieval is a fantastic thing. That is madness. I sent this to health secretaries and health ministers globally to find out if a 30-minute retrieval in a city center is a fantastic thing. And they all laughed. They laughed. 30 minutes.
Which health ministers in particular?
Let me tell you something. Canada, you were just speaking to the minister of, the former minister of works here. You should have asked him about this issue. I want to give you information today that you would be able to share, because we're compiling that right now. This is not going to stop right here. This Minister of Health needs to explain to the public how he comes to think that 30 minutes is a good retrieval time, and people who hold a job similar to his, I have information from them that we're going to be putting into the public domain as well. But coming back to the issue, 30 minutes to hospital is cutting it close. Not 30 minutes to retrieval. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? The reality of the situation here is what we have as an ambulance service is non-functional. Paul Anderson, the CEO of Global Medical Response, says they're having a problem with handing over a casualty. That's left hand and right hand. That falls under the same Ministry of Health. If you know that your CEO is complaining that you have ambulances tied up outside your casualty for 6 hours and taking an ambulance out of the fleet, why are we not addressing that? Why are we not dealing with that? The reality of the situation is we have people dying needless deaths. waiting for an ambulance. The accident that took place in Diego Martin 2 weeks ago was a man trying to get to the hospital. They couldn't wait any longer for the ambulance. He was having a heart attack. They crashed and died on the way.
Right. So therefore, do you think it's because of your history with the government? Maybe it was a bit personal then, his response to you. Maybe it was how you approached him.
There was no approach. It is the same information that I sent to you that was run as a letter in the Guardian. It's the same information he got, but he took this arrogantly. Like, who am I to be questioning him? When the issue is not about that. Yesterday, the president detailed, allegedly, clipped a vehicle parked outside Shakers on Arbit Avenue. The owner, Wendy Archer, took a picture and she put it up on social media, saying she didn't know what was the next step because it was the presidential detail. I took her post and I sent it to the government, saying, who does she report this to? Within minutes, I got a response from the Minister of Works, Suraj Ramachan, the Minister of Housing, Rudal Murilal, the Party General Secretary, Dave Tanko, the UNC Party General Secretary, Dave Tanko, the Minister of National Security, who said, let her write it up and send it to me and let me see if I can sort this out. This is how the government is accustomed to responding.
Okay, we're gonna go to break here. I'm gonna go to news and we'll come back and we'll finish up here.
Service. Just based on 1 or 2 years of evidence and not putting the other facts up, it really and truly, all you're really doing is taking one situation and blowing it out of proportion and saying to the public, hey, look what's happening here. All you look at me, I am doing a real good job by bringing this to the public forum. So when I know the politics of what he's doing, he's trying to bring attention to himself, but I won't go there. But at the end of the day, the ambulance service is being looked at. We have a plan in place. And I have a national policy, which I went to Cabinet and also done, where all the ambulances are ready and willing to start transporting patients. So if somebody was at 5 minutes away from on High Street in San Fernando, somebody should have called the ambulance at San Fernando. However, because of the new policies, they will tell you call GMRTT. Now, these are the little links that I have to that I have to work with the, as I say, the administration. Sometimes the hospitals, they say, that is not in our purview. It is the GMRTT. Sometimes once a gate fell on somebody, I said, no, it's right there, go for it. So as health minister, that is what I do. And they went in the right action. However, the health minister cannot stand up for one take action for every single one that calls in. We hope that the ambulance service in this country will be developed in the way that we want to do, and it's being done.
So, I mean, you did admit, I know before you did admit there is a problem in the ambulance service, but is it the way Mr. Alexander brought forward the point that really infuriated you? Because, I mean, personally, I must say that response is not really a fitting of a government minister.
It's not, but the thing about it, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've asked him to take me off his blog. I don't want to hear from him, but I'm still on it. I'm appealing to him again. Please take me off your blog. I don't want it. Because I get these negative, it's just negative upon negative upon negative. And he seems to choose certain attacks. He chooses certain people in certain areas, and also he chooses certain regions. He leaves out other regions. So, see, if you're a political and social activist, you're not doing it, in the political social. I don't want to go into war with him. Let him continue on his run. But what I'm saying to people in Trinidad and Tobago, when you see somebody putting up negativity and not positivity that is occurring, it is a cause for concern. But my response, I admit, was harsh, but at the time, that's how I felt. But I'm not a dishonest person, I'm not feeling so unpolitically correct. At that time, I was infuriated, and that is how I felt.
Right, because
I'm honest enough to admit it.
Right, because we've had, calls in the newsroom as well, because people have their own horror stories of ambulance. I know one recently in Tamina, where a woman said she gave birth at home at around 6 a.m. And at 10 o'clock, she called the newsroom and said she'd been calling the ambulance service for hours, and she wasn't able to get one to come to her home, and she said she has a child, afterbirth, everything is there. And, in all fairness, we did place a call to the Regional Health Authority Chairman, the Eastern Regional Health Authority Chairman.
Right.
And, he was able to get one there for her about 15, 20 minutes after.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, it is something that I mean, I'm sure not only Mr. Alexander can attest to, but it's something that has affected a lot of people in the country.
Could I ask you to do one favor? Allow me to say something here. Can those who have good responses in the health sector please also send it in? Because at the end of the day, those who have a lot of good responses are not sending anything in. And in any situation, you get all the bad responses, and in 90% of good responses are never spoken about.
Well, that's, I mean, if we want to go down that road, then we really can't. I mean, are we really going to start to praise people for doing their job?
Why not? What's wrong with that?
I mean, it's expected.
That is the problem in our society.
But it's expected that an ambulance should have a rapid response time.
Akash, understand something. When you show people the positivity that's occurring, rather than blasting the negativity, then you see you got people being reinforced at the same time as you see both sides of a story. But if you at the same time see negativity in your life, right through, and nobody tells you you're positive and you're good. So, okay, suppose somebody tells you that you get 90% in a maths exam, but your parents said, Akash, why did you get the other 10%? How do you feel?
I think that happened once already.
Oh, God, how do you feel?
I didn't feel... Oh, you know, I tried to work hard for that 10%.
No, but you think about it, but you have to give out 90.
Okay, no, I see your point.
So this is what people are doing. Alexander's taking 10%, but he's not focused on the 90. 90 doesn't exist. He's supposed to get 90. But he thinks the other 10% of negativity takes the front pages and allows people to rail based on emotions. He's using that to promote. But that is his right if he wants to call himself that. And he wears a cup to a cup with his fashion the government. How nice. But at the end of the day, I am there to push the ambulance this more, and I'm doing that.
And we look forward to that.
But I'm balanced.
Right, and we do look forward, and I want to thank you for joining us this morning, and we do look forward to that reform in the ambulance service, something that the health minister did admit that it's not perfect at the moment, but they are working on it. So thank you very much, Dr. Khan. Let's take a quick break. But Health Minister, Dr. Fuad Khan. Good morning, Dr. Khan.
Hey.
Hi, good morning. Did you listen to the interview before?
Hello?
Hi, good morning, Dr. Khan. Did you listen to the interview with Mr. Alexander a few minutes ago?
Well, yeah, unfortunately I had to.
Okay, well, unfortunately you tuned into the morning brew, but he was saying that you were justifying 30 minutes, and he was asking the question, where in the world is a 30-minute response time good? Now, is this best practice for the health sector?
Look, it's not best practice, but it's better than what is being done at certain times. The ambulance had a 10-minute response recently, but to somebody who had a heart attack. But you wouldn't see that on the net because it doesn't assist in the campaign of what is being done. When there's a bad response, that is what is put out. So it assists in the campaign of what is being done. So I am in the process of, as I say, reformulating the ambulance service. But a lot of people don't understand the ambulance service. They figure that one ambulance service it's in Trinidad and Tobago. The GMRTT serves the external part of the ambulance service. There are ambulance service that goes from hospital to hospital. There are some that go from health center to health center, and different levels of ambulances. We have indicated in our ambulance policy that the ambulance should be called at a hospital to its nearby, etc. But that's not what is done. They call it dispatch that runs the emergency external ambulance service. A lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago use that emergency ambulance service like maxi taxis. They call them and they say, when the ambulance arrives, they see people walking normal, no really emergency, but having back pains and foot pains and want to be taken to the casualty or expert and make it go to the health office. But the ambulance service wasn't designed to send people in the GMRTT at just general non-emergency conditions, and that takes up a lot of the ambulance time. Now, if people understand the ambulance service, I'm not making an excuse for it. We are formulating the ambulance service to be developed to give a faster response time, because I understand there is a golden hour, and if Mr. Alexander understands the golden hour, not the golden minute, you don't get an ambulance in 10 minutes. It's nice if you can, but we work in trauma emergency or the golden hour. So what we try to do is to bring somebody under stabilization in that golden hour. So if an ambulance does 30 minutes and stabilize somebody 30 minutes and then transports them, fine, that is good. You don't bash an ambulance service for 30 minutes. Next thing you know, you'll be bashing them for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. The whole idea about the ambulance service and external GMRTT is an emergency response service on the external part of the country, when it's externally non-hospital parts. So that is what got me a bit angry, that somebody could be running them out like that and just putting up the negative parts of the ambulance service, but has not put any positive parts.
Well, I do agree with you that the ambulance should not be used as a glorified, let's call it that, glorified taxi service.
That's what's happening.
Right. But you did earlier on admit that it's not the best case scenario. You did say you were formulating a plan to reduce this response time. What are some of the initiatives you all are looking to put in place?
The initiatives, now, right now there's GMRTT service in the country. There are not many providers that have that level of activity and service. What we're doing, we're increasing the ambulance, the amount of ambulances. I want to carry to 60 or more. So I have to use a mechanism of procurement that is acceptable to transparency and accountability. That takes time. I'm thinking of using the RHAs or trying for a public-private partnership through GMRT for them to buy the ambulances, but that has to go to the Central Tenders Board. That has already been passed by Cabinet. Cabinet has passed it and given us the approval to do it. Now it's in the formulation phase of procurement. Once that occurs, you'll have to get paramedics trained, and GMRT is a paramedic training area, and it's from the Global Medical Response, which is international paramedic training. That is being done. So once you have the paramedic training and entering these ambulances, which is taking a time for procurement, you will then be able to have ambulance service that will be responding all over the country at shorter times. But until that, which we'll be doing right now, and government procurement does take a while, and government hold the whole aspect.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how long will this all take?
This has been going on for months. And I asked the government secretary, where has it reached? What they're looking at is in the terms and conditions of the contract with GMRTT is going to be varied to such an extent that it changes it to a new contract when I have to go for new procurement.
So the health minister is watching. If you could try again to appeal to him, what would you say right now?
We need to improve the ambulance service. This is not about him and I, and this will never be about politics or personalities to me. You asked me before if I prefer social and political activists. Yes, I'm a social activist first. The public, this touches everybody. This crosses all lines. Anybody that you could talk to could tell you an ambulance horror story. You yourself might know ambulance horror stories. The reality of the situation is we interact with our health sector when something happens. So we expect to be able to pick up the phone and call for an ambulance. Somebody told me that they called for an ambulance and dispatch called them back 24 hours later to find out if they still needed the ambulance.
24 hours it does. Wow. So
how is that acceptable?
Well, we'll be talking to the health minister in a few minutes. I want to thank you very much, Ms. Alexander. We're talking to the health minister and trying to put some balance on this. But thank you for bringing this concern to us. And I know it's the concern you said of the constituents of Diego Martin.
Well, it's a national concern, but Diego Martin, people have been calling me to ask me, what are we doing about this? The health minister needs to justify, from a global perspective, which countries he thinks that a 30-minute retrieval is a fantastic thing, as he says, that is good enough for Trinidad and Tobago.
We'll ask him in a few minutes. Thank you very much, Mr. Alexander. We'll take a quick commercial break, and when we come back,